Hi everyone, I'm Justin St-Denis, Creative Director at Lexicon, joined here today by Giuseppe Di Lieto, Founder and Director of Exponasia Growth Partners. Now, Giuseppe just published a brand new report entitled, Is Your Business Ready to Go Global? Lessons from Southeast Asia. It sets out a 4-part readiness framework with 16 checks that companies can use to assess whether they're truly prepared for international expansion. In this conversation, we'll be walking through the framework, discuss the lessons behind it, and hear some of Giuseppe's thoughts on what companies need to get right before making the leap abroad. So, Giuseppe, thanks for being here today.
Hey, thanks for having me here.
Yeah, welcome back to Thailand. We're here for a metaphorical fireside chat. We didn't want to have a real fire. It's Thailand. It's ridiculous. So we have a candle-side chat.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Welcome.
So let's jump right in here. So you've written this report. And then the first bit is around readiness. So a lot of leaders think that their companies are ready to go global, they're ready for international growth, but in reality, they may not be. So your guide opens by stressing organizational readiness as the foundation for global expansion efforts. What does an organization that's truly ready to grow in a new market actually look like in practice?
Implementing growth initiatives is a full organization, a full company undertaking. So all the functional leadership, all the function needs to be aligned on what the purpose is going to be and what is going to be the process to get there. What I've observed a number of times is that not all the organization is aligned. Aligned means aligned on objective, aligned on the path, and also meaning aligning on the funding, aligning on the resources and the efforts they have to put into it, right? So many growth initiatives, they start from sales, right? So sales trying to move the front line, the top line. But the fact of the matter that it remains fundamentally a cross-functional and a multidisciplinary undertaking. So why many initiative fails from the beginning at the foundation, why organization is so important is because you can't do it at all. I mean, no leaders, despite how strong they can be, the organization can do it alone. They need that alignment along all the functions. And what I mean, in practice, you may need to adjust your supply chain. You may need to redesign your product. You may need to adjust your service infrastructure. You may need to readjust all your administration support. So that means that all the functions in the organization needs to be aligned. Failing that alignment, problem will come down the line. And this is why I put it at the top. You say you expect to be first. The first thing is look at the market. No, look at yourself inside. Like it says that the first skills of generals in armies, in war, is know your army before you know all the rest. The first thing is look at your organization, understanding how prepared it is, and most important, ensure to secure the commitment of all the functions that need to be involved. Because down the line, you will need all these functions to deliver. And what I've seen many initiatives fail is just at a certain point when things get a really derailed, you need to put back on track. People start saying, I didn't sign up to it, I didn't commit to it.
Right.
And that's detrimental to the overall effort. And that has to be set beforehand. It is paramount that you start from aligning all the functions and securing the commitment to all the people who have to express commitment.
So, if I understand correctly, the CEO may have this fantastic expansion idea. It's time for us to go global. We're ready. But if it's just a vision with no buy-in, it's going to fall apart in the long run.
I mean, every good CEO knows that they have to secure that commitment. So the first thing is aligning with the company objectives, of course, communicating clearly, and ensure that all the relevant functions buy in. Buy in means really express commitment, because problem will come down the line. When the vision is not properly communicated, when the vision is not properly accepted, and when the commitment is not properly expressed, it may happen for politics, for many other reasons. Sooner or later down the line, it will come back to bite.
So how does a business leader get this buy-in?
It's the role of the business leader to show the way, secure commitment of people to get behind them, right? So I would say it's one of the fundamental criteria of leadership. So just have the vision, you can communicate, and you can convince others that's the right path to go, and bring your organization with you. And that's, I would say, the fundamental of leadership. So whether you are a CEO or an MD or people sitting there and trying to develop the company further and push the sales up, You need to have that ability to have an idea first, give shape to an idea, communicate it clearly, and then drive the organization to buy in. It's not it cannot be, it can be a CEO idea, right? That's why CEO are in place. They have to show us the way. They are better than us in showing and leading the way.
What they're there for,
but,
setting the vision.
but when they set the vision and the guidance and the direction, then they have to communicate clearly across the organization, secure the buy-in by the function, because in the end, there is going to be somebody's going to do the job. And if that function is not really properly buy-in, or is just ready, sitting there, waiting for bedtime to come and raise the hand and say, hey, I know this was going wrong, I know this wouldn't work, and I didn't commit to it, and then you are on your own.
Yeah. Well, why didn't you speak up earlier?
Huh? Why didn't you speak up earlier, right? And it doesn't work. The fundamental thing is, and I know this because I've seen organizations failing and grow initiative failing because they are presented by sales. They are supposed to be presented by sales. We want to expand to market into new segment or maybe into new geography, or we want to launch, a product that looks like this into a new customer. That's fine. It starts with sales, but the organization needs to come after. And what I've seen is even sometimes because of the process that is not really fully drive organizational alignment, but sales wanted to implement ideas, they go ahead, they turn their back, and there's nobody behind them. The worst situation in which you can be in is that you are run, and there is nobody behind you. You at least in industrial world, where you sell products, solution, and service that are with high complexity, there's nobody that can get things done alone. So you need the organization to come after you.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't sell something that hasn't been manufactured yet, right?
Exactly. And some of the things that you will see happening is, especially when you penetrate markets which are beyond your comfort zone, the usual pattern, you develop your internal market, then you go to proximity market, for which you have some cultural alignment. Then you work to some other geography that are perhaps a little farther, but still very aligned with your way of doing things. Then you move into unknown territory. When you move into unknown territory, any assumption that you put at the beginning, is subject to change. Can be proven not validated, and then you have to change as you go. And to change as you go, you need the full organization behind. As you mentioned, think about, we need more service support on the ground, and the functional head of service says, you didn't speak to me at the beginning, I didn't sign up to it, I don't have budget, I don't even have the interest, and you are on your own, That's where organization clashes. And then the CEO may intervene at that point, and that's what CEO usually do as well. It's basically to say, okay, we go ahead this way rather than that way, and everybody align. But if you get that alignment beforehand, I would say that is the precondition for success.
Okay, great. Well, so let's say we get the alignment, and that's great. Everybody's bought in. But now we've got to talk product market fit, which can be extremely tricky, which is why your guide dedicates a full chapter to it. So you need to validate this product market fit before you even begin the international expansion to a specific market. So how can a company realistically test for product market fit before actually making the moves into a new market?
Yeah, this is a kind of catch-22, right?
Like, because you have no idea how the customers are going to respond to it.
You can test if you don't enter, but if you don't enter, you can test. Look, if you don't have, as you don't have at the beginning, facts and data, you need to work on assumption and estimates. And that what the difficult part is, and how you do it through research and through really trying to understand in the context. As I mentioned, you have assumptions that you haven't tested yet, so better you move from a solid base on which those assumptions were based upon, and some of the estimate. And I would say here, there is, of course, you're still in a testing phase. You cannot have definitive data and facts, but you can get as close as you can by doing proper research, and that means involving experts and people who knows how things work.
People like Exponasia Growth Partners.
Yeah, we do that. We do that in our domain of expertise, and that is important because the flawed assumption is one of the most, I would say in my experience, in my career, but also in my observation, it was the most common causes why initiative fails, because the reality is different from the assumption. So you need expert advice. We do that. Other companies do that depending on the specific domain. Try to validate the assumption as much as you can, and doing in a way that is useful and consistent with what your plans are. What I mean that the way we do it is very practical, going and trying to figure out on the territory who are your customer, you are your potential partner, who are your suppliers, who are your competitors, right? You can do it a different way, but it depends more on where you want to get. For instance, when I talk to my client, they say, we would like to enter here, and how large is the market? I say, does it really matter for what is your objection, right? And what you do, how you define success? Well, I'd be happy if the next 3 years we generate, I don't know, $5 million, $10 million in industrial context, right? So it's a small amount.
Right.
And then I said, so if I tell you that the market is 50 billion, 100 billion, what's the difference?
It's a pretty big difference. Orders of magnitude.
I mean, your objective is so small compared to the largest market that what you need is a customer. It's not that you need, to take a big percentage share of the market. So why don't we focus time, efforts, funds on something much more practical? There can be, what we do is, let's go and look who your potential customers are, if there are some on the ground, right? Ask me to explain to me, share with me who are your customers on other territory. Perhaps we will find, subsidiary of the customer in our region, and that means that you already have somebody you are selling to somewhere else. That that is a good prospect to have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or tell me other customer that you are chasing somewhere else. So just we go on the ground and go see who are potential user of your product, service, or solution on the territory, on the geographical market that you are choosing, right? So just by identifying who short list or even long list or who your potential customer to go and try to approach, you already have an idea what kind of revenue you can generate. Now, in many trade, you will need channel partners, whether it's a distributor, system integrators, or other kind of middlemen that take you to end user, right? Let's go and see what is the availability of these players on the ground. Because then you will have to approach them, and if there is many, it's a sign. If there is none, is a difference, opposite sign, and everything in between. Let's go and see what your competition base is doing. If many of your competitors are already in the market, they may suggest that company of your characteristic, they compete with those people into other market, can also be successful here, right? But let's really keep it very practical. And you don't have to have the final confirmation that you can be successful, but you have to go through stages, right? Invest a little and try to get to the next stage. Then you test. Perhaps you can run a pilot. Perhaps you can run only, can approach few customers. And in the end, the model gets validated. And it's never done until it's done. So it's never done until you really get the first customer, or you really get clear signs and demonstration that a market for you exists and you can penetrate it. But that's the way you do. But just to say in one nutshell, response to your question, if you don't have facts and data, what you need is assumption and evaluation. And evaluation and assumption, the closer you can get to a solid assessment, to a solid feedback, and you do this through research, and you do it through approaching companies that have done it before, expert advisor that can help you navigate it through the situation.
So it's pretty complex, a lot of moving parts, a lot of contingencies that you need to plan for, which is probably why you highlight operational readiness as the third essential pillar of any internationalization program. Obviously, even some of the best strategies can fail in execution. So what are some warning signs that a company may fail in execution, even if their plan looks good on paper?
Look, usually I tend to talk to people, and the warning sign, I get it as a kind of warning sign when I see an organization that are too much internal focused and too much that watch themselves in the mirror, say, hey, how good am I, how perfect am I, and expect accordingly that the customer, the market fits their characteristic, right, or adapt to their demand. And you can see this in many companies. I can mention one case that I know well, in which a company would keep replacing sales director, because on the ground that they cannot elaborate well our market or our product offering. They cannot elaborate sufficiently our product offering, and shift the balance from is a product market fit issue to to, well, we don't have capable people that can tell how fantastic our product is. The fact of the matter is there are circumstances which you need to adapt to the local context. And being operational ready, operational flexible and agile means that there are circumstances in which you need to adjust your product. There are circumstances in which you need to adjust your go-to-market. There are circumstances in which you will have to adjust your service infrastructure. All this is operation. So if you don't have that internal agility, well, nothing can be changed, nothing can be done. Is the market that need to adjust to our characteristic, our business dynamic, the way we do business. Sooner or later, it will not work. So when I mean operational assessment is, do you have the internal agility? Can you change the boxing of a product? Can you spec out, up or down? Can we do product with different features? Can we put more people on the ground for service assistance? If you don't have the internal agility to get process input from the market and then adjust your operation accordingly, basically you're going to work very stiff into situations that require adaptability.
At this point, you've moved beyond assumptions. You're actually responding to real data on the ground.
Yeah, you respond to real, exactly, data on the ground. And the point is that when you face it, you need to have that agility. If your operating system is so stiff, so rigid, and sometimes it is, it's a fact. I met many business leaders, they say, look, again, know your army before you know all the rest. I know my army, we won't be able to do that, We cannot adjust a product in 6 months, just we don't have the capability. We don't have, not a company yet that we can change in 6 months. So that's good to know. It's good that a CEO knows. It's good that a managing director knows, so he can decide what steps to take and what steps no. In the content of Southeast Asia that I've seen, specifically working with Western company, is going to be very different because it's the span which is different. It happens that people ask me, but what is also different? It's the span that you will find. What I mean with that, you can try. I travel extensively to Japan, right? And visited a lot of manufacturing facility in more than 15 years that I've been here. And the span from the best plant I've seen and the worst plant that I've seen is very narrow.
Right. They're all pretty good.
They're all pretty good, right? So you go there, more or less,
They're all lean, Six Sigma,
yeah, they are all lean, they are all EHS compliant, they are super productive, they are based on process, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, perhaps, the painting on the wall of the best is shiny and the painting on the wall of the worst is a little rusty. But fundamentally, they buy all high quality product, all high performing product, they have all very established supply chain, they are very clear of what they want with their supplier, right? So you go with one approach and you can meet many demand, fundamentally almost 100% of the industrial base. And that is similar to the United States, similar. Europe a little less, you find more span in Europe. But the same, you develop a product for a European market, it works almost everywhere. While here in Asia, you will find at the same time the highest technology, manufacturing plant run on the highest technology available, and manufacturing plant they are not, actually are quite the opposite, still heritage of old school provincial manufacturing plant. And if you want to sell to the one and sell to the other, you need to have some agility because the same product, the same process, the same approach, the same everything, the same go-to-market will not be fit for one and the other. So you need to keep adjusting, and that ability to keep adjusting is paramount.
Just to backtrack a little bit, so you mentioned product adjustment as one of the things that you may need to do given new facts on the ground or more facts from the ground. What would be an example of a product adjustment that a company would need to do in an agile manner to properly serve the market?
Yeah, I mean, what I've seen is a recurrent need here is put the specification down to make the product more accessible. So specs down, price down. Because often...
Shouldn't that be pretty easy?
No, and no, it is not as easy as it may appear. Because again, back to the R&D, back to product development at factory level, is manufacturing level, is a change of design, is a change of supply chain. You need to find new supplier, new components. You need to modify the manufacturing line. people think that making better is hard and making simpler is hard. Well, the fact
that
of the
was my
matter
assumption.
is simple. Sorry, make it. The fact of the matter is when you want to change something, a product or a service is complex as well. And what I've seen here in Asia, again, what I meant, right, is the problem of the span. Because if you develop a product you want to sell into the US, say, or in Europe or in Japan, as I said, or even in Korea, you know that already how it has to look like, It has to be with certain kind of features, performance, and you have to come with certain availability and to certain delivery and to certain price point. While here, in the developing market, the span is much higher, It's like going for food and beverage outlet, You go to the United States, you go to Europe, you basically you know what you're going to spend, For a middle class dinner, it's going to more likely be here, a little higher, a bit lower.
Sure.
While if you go out here in Bangkok here,
Yeah.
we may have dinner for $2 or for $2,000.
Yeah,
right?
Are we going for kapow or are we going to the Argentinian steakhouse?
Yeah, exactly, right? So you go out and, and if you are opening up a restaurant, and then you have to decide who to serve. And it's harder here, because if you go on the Argentinian steakhouse, it's what kind of restaurant. If you go on the other side, it's completely kind of restaurant.
Yeah, good steaks, by the way. I don't know if you've ever been there. They're a bit expensive, but they're worth it.
I think that's the fundamental. The thing that I observe is this difference in span that makes. That's why there are many suppliers at every tier here. There are tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, just because of the span of users. And it's in the Western world we see less, more or less. You have different example, a BMW, an Audi, on a Mercedes-Benz, consistently, While here you may have from, the latest and greatest technology, EV technology, and still have some old car for 20, 25 years old, riding the street. There is more span. Is developing country have that span, and so that means the serving all the market it's complex. You need to decide what to serve. But if you want to expand, you will have to change. You can't expect the market change. You will have to change operationally and adjust your product, service, or solution offering to what the market demands.
Okay, so let's talk about timing. So let's say you do have the right product market fit. Before that, you've gotten the buy-in, you have organizational, operational readiness, you have all of that. But the timing can still not always work out. So that's why in your final chapter, you talk about strategic fit and timing. So how does aligning a market entry with the company's broader strategy affect the chances of success? And how do you determine the right moment to enter a new market?
Well, I mean, to me, the right moment is when you're ready. And what does it mean? The first point that I make is the strategy alignment, right? Yes, I mean, to do something that is so committing, it needs to align with the overall corporate strategy, because otherwise we'll fail. What does it mean aligning with the corporate strategy? Well, if you're already chasing expansion in a highest priority market, that is already efforts that will commit the full organization. So perhaps it's not the right time to add, more initiative in tier 2 or in tier 3 markets. So in that moment, perhaps you might want to hold. Companies that are going to transformation, companies that are going to merger and acquisition, I mean, if you plan to divest and, find a merging partner with the company in the next year, perhaps you don't want to start now because it really doesn't fit. In 1 year, the new owners or the new management structure may have different ideas, may want to expand in different markets. So perhaps it's not the right time to try such a new committing things if your company is, is on a different path. So back to the overall concept, right? There must be alignment not only on the management, but also what you're trying to do must fit into the overall strategy of the company and the life cycle of the company. In a moment of expansion, that it fits. An expansion strategy fit in a company that want to expand. That's it. You can go. In companies that are already uncertain on, they are in financial trouble, or perhaps they are looking for restructuring. They have to refine their direction. Their North Star. Perhaps there you can wait and you can understand who you're going to be in the next year, in the next 3 to 5 years, right? And then you plug in a growth initiative that can be so committing and requires so even financial commitment. Say that, I would say look, go when you're ready. And go when you're ready means if you have a solid case, you have done the study that we said, right? You have the full alignment, you have understand your market, you think that your product can fit, your organization is flexible and agile enough they can navigate through the challenges. What you're waiting for? I compare it to the stock investment, right? There are two kind of investment. There is the very short term, I buy today, sell tomorrow, try to make profit overnight, right? Then it's all about timing. So that it's all about timing. So you have to decide, assess and decide where you want to place your bet. If you're investing for the long run, so you analyze, you scrutinize company, you understand whether they have a good idea, you understand whether they have the right team and infrastructure to implement it, you understand whether they have all the markets and everything. Then you say, hey, you're investing 5 to 10 years. Just go. Whether you invest this week or that week, your strategy is based on a longer term assessment, is based on much deeper, You're not investing to get return tomorrow. So if I invest in my money, company that I think in 10 years will be the new Google and the new big guys and the new things, and then why delay to next month? Why to delay to the next year? Except, I usually say, look at the fundamentals, right? Look at the fatal flaws. So there can be cases usually come from country risk, political risk, regulation risk. Like, if you want to invest in a country and there is turmoil to the point a war might start, perhaps it's not the right time, right? If there are regulation, your product can be banned, for instance, I make it up, but, if I do sweetened, carbonated sweetened drinks and, I want to invest in a country where, the parliament is discussing a ban on sweetened, then you say, perhaps, either I wait a little bit, see what happens, or perhaps I enter, with
about bad timing.
with a with a sugar-free thing, right? But I think the point is this. One, it fits into your strategy. Unless there is a fatal flaw, there is, again, country risk, political risk. They can ban moving profit out of the country, or then you say ban on your product or change war. Probably. Unless there are those kind of fatal flaws, just go. What you're waiting for? The GDP is. People look at the GDP, at the currency exchange. Just and the trend in the market, it's fine. But especially in Southeast Asia, we keep growing, even if grow less than we used to do in the past.
Yeah, the general trend, long-term trend
is the longer trend is there, And the key thing is that you may go look for certain saving. I have a friend. He was looking for a property to buy, and he could afford it, he loved it, great property, but I say, because his savings were in a different currency, right, and the exchange rate was unfavorable, I wait. Guess what? After 2 months, the property was gone. The fact is that when you wait, other people take actions. Your competitor may take action, and they can come to the point in which you wait, you find that someone else, has made a move before you. So again, and perhaps I made it longer than I should have, but if he aligns with your strategic objective of the company, and there are no fatal flaws, and you are there waiting for everything to be perfect, you're going to miss opportunities. So just go ahead.
Yeah, you raise a very good point. Speaking of risks and risk aversion, this is obviously a pretty crazy time for businesses all over the world, but including here in Southeast Asia, right? Real pressures going on. There's technological disruption, AI, labor shortages. We're facing economic downturns in certain countries, definitely here in Thailand. Geopolitical tensions, obviously tariffs. It is a pretty wild time. So why would you argue that maybe some businesses are thinking that now's the time that we should hunker down, protect what we have? Why is this potentially a mistake, and why should businesses be looking to expand at this time?
Yeah, but what option have you? In many countries, I look at the Western country, for instance, right? If today you are everywhere in Germany, you are in Italy, you are in UK, there is downturn there. So, there's very much visible way to, be sustainable, just selling to your internal market or your, traditional market. I mean, I know some place in Southeast Asia better than other. By Singapore, it's all about, you guys expansion overseas. In Malaysia as well, it's helping SMEs to become more regional and more global. Because in today's world, this is very hard to, in today's world, if you stay still, you will be left behind very soon. And all the things that you mentioned, let's talk about it, right? Tariff. Do you think tariff will be removed anytime soon in the next few years?
Well, yes.
No, it will not be happen because.
Well, they're not going to stay exactly as they are now. They won't even stay that way until next week.
No, yeah, I think so. Okay, you're right. But what I'm trying to say is, look, there has been a market shift probably in the past 2 years, and more is set to happen. Now, if you look to tariff, we're not going to go back to the world before 10 months ago. Even other administrations that may come into the United States, they will take the policies from when they are and move it forward. But it's not that they will just revert everything that has been done. I heard you mentioning technology challenges, right? I mean, do you think that automation, AI will?
No, this one's the cat's out of the bag.
No. Do you think that geopolitical turmoil will go away in the next 3 to 5 years?
I'd like to hope so.
I'd like to hope so, but hoping is not a strategy. See what's happening, right? Now we're talking about different world orders. So even if you think about, I heard you mentioning the labor shortage, right? There is more protectionism these days. Do you think the country will open up their border for free immigration from one country to the other?
It seems less and less likely. Depends on the country, of course.
Yeah, it depends on the country, but the context that we are going through, the geopolitical turmoil, the tariffs, technology disruption, and protectionism, and certain geographies, coming up the line, certain other geographical market to decline, they are not going to go away anytime soon. So the fact is that either you face it, or just you are in a very dangerous spot. And I'm not saying that it's not risky to try to make a move. I'm saying it's less risky not making any move.
Yeah, absolutely. So, of course, there's risk in making a move, but there's just as much, probably more risk in staying still.
That's it, La. Now, these days, if you just stay still, you will be left behind. So when I say, is it risk to trying to make an expansion move in this global context? Yes. It is less risky not doing anything. I think it's worse.
I've heard you say that companies today are designed for efficiency, not growth. What's the distinction there? Why is it so critical, and what does it mean for companies looking to scale or expand into new markets?
Look, again, in my space, but all companies that I see, they are under pressure, to do better product, cheaper price, faster, So it's all the energy and the resources and the funds into the organization are addressed to do the current operation better, to improve the current operation to efficiency to the point it can meet this objective. You get out products that are better, cheaper, faster. That's great. That makes sense. The fact of the matter is that you focus on what you have been doing already. You're doing more of the same while to grow and probably to expand and probably to survive in tomorrow's world, you have to start doing something that is different. So if I think of the company that I know and the one that I observe is, it's more of, again, it's doing about better and better and better, more of the same thing. So to the point that many SMEs, that is my core, they are just structured to deliver on the current operation, what they do, but they have little span to think about something else, So how the company is going to look tomorrow, how the company is going to look in 5 years, in 10 years, and what we have to do to get there. So it's a survival rush, if you want, right? In order to survive today, you need to focus on the today, but then you will miss the chance of tomorrow. And so the point is, and I've seen many of this. I've been part of this world, in which you just have to survive through the next quarter, through the end of the year. The fact of the matter is, so who's going to think to the next year and the 5 years from now?
Sure, yeah.
And large company have an answer, is that because they are big and they can they are resourced, and they have the resources, they have function, they have market development function, they have operational excellence, commercial excellence and function. The medium enterprise, they don't have, they cannot staff in order to be competitive to the point that we were saying yesterday with resources that seem redundant, but they are instrumental for the growth. So if you're running an SME today, even medium enterprise, right, in the industrial world can be a few hundred or millions, how you ensure that you bring that expertise and that capacity in order to think forward and execute on the program to get there? And I think the one of the possible answers, the answer is bring in additional resources. If you cannot develop your own team, then you have to find it in the marketplace. And funding in the marketplace, you can do, in my opinion, that's what we're trying to do, both, hire consultant, or today I call it accelerator, right? Business development accelerator. So I take the business development piece and I do for you. Or I try to understand for you what market you can penetrate or what other applications you can focus on. Or you do through interim management professionals that, fractional manager professional is the most proper way we call today, in which there are resources you can plug in your organization to work on specific project. The key thing is, what I have observed, large organizations, they have the resources because they have the funds, they have the span to hire and to establish functions, market development, corporate development, operational excellence. They're, look forward. But if you're a medium enterprise, I can tell you, I visit every day few of these. You're running your business today, and you don't think much of what next year is going to look like, and that's a problem. And that's why company like Exponasia Growth Partner can help, because we can work as a plugin, either as call it implementation consultant, or call it with a more cool way as growth accelerators, or we can work as fractional management, and then you do it for the period, for the project that is needed, right? If you want to penetrate the market, you don't need a guy or a gal for the next 3 years. It's a 6 to 8 months project, So plug in, get things done, move out.
Growth accelerators, I like that.
Growth accelerators.
It's a good one. We might have to add that tagline. You might have already answered this, but I'll ask the question anyway, because, most business leaders, all of them, they're ideas people at their core. They're visionary type people. They have ideas, they have projects that they've always wanted to pursue, but they just can't due to a lack of resources, a lack of time, and usually both. So why does this happen, and how can these companies actually get these projects off the shelf and executed?
Why
they need a growth accelerator.
You know why it actually happens? Because the operating system these days have become so complex, resource intensive, and effort intensive that they have reduced the senior leadership to mere administrators. So I've been such of this role, and you are so focused on the day by day, you're so focused on the operating system that you really have one of the things I used to say that I used to spend more time in explaining the results than in producing results. So when the operating system of company have become so complex and demanding in the direction that you have spent more of your time to report and explain results than to produce results, you are close to the short circuit, right? You're going to talk about things, but you're not going to do new things. This is some of the issue that I will serve. So what they can do, they can ask for help. Again, is in the large company, there are army of people, and it is true. In large company, they can afford. They have functions and add functions and people, but perhaps overstaffed in many cases. You can bring in to fill those gaps, to fill just because people who could do it, should do it, just doesn't have the time because they're doing something else. But in small and medium enterprise, you don't have that capacity.
Right.
So, you cannot build redundant organizations. So just go and find it in the marketplace, and you find it, you can find it, and that's why we are in business. That's why Exponential Growth Partner is in business, because you say, hey, we can help. And how we can help? Just by be your plug-in capacity, expertise, as senior leadership to give shape to ideas and turning, ideas to vision into action and action into results.
And of course, you're not there to replace anyone. You're there to help
No.
them bring this vision to life, reap the benefits,
Yeah.
and then step
Thanks
aside.
for asking this, because I sometimes, when I approach possible client, they think,
Yeah, this guy's here to replace me.
exactly, right? Say, but then if you come on board and things start going the right way, then, my HQ will look bad on me. And no, I mean, doing what I'm trying to do with Exponential Partner is a career choice, it's not, and as I have commented in numerous forums by now, when you look for interim professional, fractional professional, my advice is look for somebody who has taken as a career. Many executives do as in between job roles, all right? So while I look for another job, I do my gigs, and that's fine. But the fact of the matter is the priority of those professionals is to get a new job.
Right, they might be auditioning.
Yeah, well, in our case, is we want reference. We don't want a job in the company. We want reference to get the next customer.
Right. And of course, you're not there to replace them. You're there to make them look good. They can take credit for it.
Exactly.
You'll be gone. Hey, this was my idea all along.
I want my
I
reference.
meant to hire this guy.
Yeah, exactly. We just want to learn and expand our ability to deliver more value to our customer.
So obviously this flexible leadership, fractional leadership is a fairly well-established concept globally, definitely in the West, but not so much here in Southeast Asia. So why do you think organizations here specifically are hesitant to bring in leaders on a part-time or fractional basis?
Look, I think my experience is there are some contributors, and there is an ultimate reason. The contributors, perhaps some cultural bias, because at least in this part of the world, in this part of Southeast Asia, trust is based through continuous relationship, right? So it's very awkward for many people that you get to introduce somebody and give him responsibility, because in the end, being fractional leader is you get authority. You can spend budget. You can when it's well done, right? So you can decide what to do and what not to do. So you become part of the leadership team. Either if you don't decide yourself, you present it to the board or present to the leader. But in a way, you have the ability to influence, to define the path of the company. So many people in a local context say, hey, I mean, I haven't heard of you, or maybe I've heard, but I've never known you, in a context where trust is based on continuous relationship. I've known you 10 years, perhaps we're going to the same school, or we are starting in the same industry. After 20 years, I mean, I've known you for long enough to trust you. It is sometimes very awkward. It's very unfamiliar, make you feel very much, say, unsure or unsafe, just to put, hey, I had somebody, a good reference, I see his references, but come into my company for 1 year and help me make change. There can be that discomfort due to a cultural factor. The other key pieces is that so far there hasn't been much offer of fractional leaders. It's a thing that is picking up maybe last 1 year, 2 years. And I can see that because I see in my network many recruiting firms, they have starting having a fractional practice, and many new agencies focus exclusively on fractional practice have been established. So much has happened the past 1 to 2 years. So this shows that it's getting in motion. There is more and more, at least there is more offer. Until recently, even if you wanted to hire fractional, you couldn't find it. There's not many people. Another contributors can be perhaps also a little stigma, because we are still very much used here in this part of the world to full-time employment. So, those who promote fractional service, hey, if you were that good, perhaps you'd be running a multinational company or, running, an affiliate of a multinational company, perhaps. If you offer yourself on practical means that fractional means that you're not that good. It's a stigma, because we are not used culturally of people working professionally, right? I mean, I'm pretty confident what I can do. I work for you for 6 months. I work for you for 9 months. Work for that. It's not very much, I think, socially accepted, and those are all contributors. But I think the ultimate reason is that we need more time. I mean, look, he has arrived into Asia only a few years ago, and like all those, breakthrough innovation, it's time for people to accept it. So, if I had just to say, despite of all the other contributors that I mentioned, the fact of the matter is that still business needs to adapt. And there is going to be some acceleration, because what I see, the momentum coming is from the tech startups, because that has become more and more obvious that you need people on fractional basis. What I mean, you're a business owner, you establish, you get funding, and the investors, they demand that you scale up quickly, and they do things for which you need dedicated resources, right? And it's going to be a journey of 1 year, 2 years. You don't have to, you cannot pay market price. They wouldn't come to you anyway full time, because you don't have a career path, right? Think about, we're going to go IPO in 1 year, so I need a CFO for 1 year. Either you take it fractional, or nobody will leave a full-time job to become work for you for 1 year. What's going to be next? I'm going to be unemployed in 1 year, right? So, that is where the demand and offer is coming together. There are more and more this company, it is very CMO, you're launching a new whatever, fintech, payment, electronic payment, and we need a CMO that really in 8 months, boom, my brand has to be everywhere. What do? You are a CMO from where? Offering an 8-month contract, you have to go fractional. You have to, that is where it's coming together. So there is increasing demand, there are increasing people that are at the top of my career, at the top of their career, they are excited to join that, and that's where the magic happens.
Okay, so speaking a bit more about the region itself, Southeast Asia is often sold as like a single block, 700 million person market, but you argue that that's misleading because the countries are not well integrated here. Why does this matter for companies planning to expand here in Southeast Asia?
Look, I think we are not doing a good job, and company like us, people in my trade and, business association and trade association, in promoting Southeast Asia as 700 million people, this GDP, this opportunity, because it's true, but it's also not, This is not a block like the European Union, we unify rules, regulation, policies, things. The markets are very diverse. So I need a passport to come to Taiwan. You will need a passport if you want to come to Singapore, and I cannot actually accept a job here, and you cannot accept a job in my residence country. So, and then put different laws and regulation with regard to setting up company, foreign direct investment, and taking profits out or in the country. Wherever you go, you find different. Even the standards, are different. So if I want to import cured meat here, I need to fulfill different, certification standard than if I want to import the same product somewhere else. So when they tell me, can you do a plan, an entry plan for Southeast Asia, I say, how can I do an entry plan for Southeast Asia? I can do 10 entry plans for a very specific market, because perhaps it is so different, unintegrated, in which there are not the same trading laws, there is not the same policies, there is not the same even culture, but it's not the same regulation in general, so that you cannot approach it. These days you go to the EU, you get one certification, you sell in all the EU.
Sure, yeah.
You can come, you get a work permit, you can work in all the Schengen area, right? I can go and work in France, I can go and work in Spain, I can go and work in Germany. You can come to work to Singapore.
No, I cannot.
No, I cannot. You understand?
Yeah.
It's not the same thing. It's in the same with capitals. It's if I have done enough study with some of my clients in certain country, you need foreign ownership to establish in certain trade. Certain trades you need foreign ownerships, or
51% here in Thailand.
51%. Yeah. It usually depends on the trade, but in either foreign ownership, or you have to invest a certain paid-up capital, So it's going to be a different.
I guess that's why local knowledge, local expertise, or at least regional expertise is so important.
That's why what we do at Exponasia Growth Partner, right, is we work with a network of local partners. We are not experts. I personally am not expert, even though I touch on every country in Southeast Asia, but I don't know the labor law in every country, or I don't know potential partners, agents in every country, but there is a wide network of people like me They have started their own business and they have knowledge enough, more focus on their own domain, that they cooperate with us. So if I need to find whatever, can you find me a JV partner in Indonesia? Sure. It won't be me that go and knock the doors.
Right, but it'll be you who finds the ideal person.
But it will, in the end, we work as a project delivery, right? In the end, we have the overall project management. In certain things, we do ourselves. If you come where I'm strong, that is Singapore and Malaysia primarily, well, most probably I will do it myself. But if I have to do a market entry for any other country, I will connect to the right people and I will find the right information and to recommend the most proper path of action. So back to where we started. Yes, I don't think that pitching Southeast Asia as one market. Come to Southeast Asia is not a statement that makes sense. Southeast Asia is an important market. The way I pitch it is, you come, decide your base, and the ground will expand from there.
Perfect. Couple questions left here, being a little bit conscious of time, but let's get through these last ones. I've heard you say that strong processes build companies, but brilliant people make them grow. Why? Obviously, process is critical, essential, but why aren't they enough? And how do great people turn a well-run company with excellent processes into an actual high-growth organization?
Process result in consistency, which is a great thing. Result in risk management, so you control what's going on in organization. The fundamental flaw, you put it, of the process, that they are built based on the past, rarely based on the future. So there are organizational learning that get consolidated into a process. So usually in a process, you put what you know already. It's very hard to build a process to something that you don't know yet.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter, they're looking forward. It's all about learning what is coming next and how you face that.
Yeah.
You will be learning, and that's what you need. You need the brilliant people.
Yeah. I've heard an analogy of you can't really drive your car by looking in the rearview mirror and seeing what's in the past.
Process is the foundation. Process is really the foundation. So you need to have process in place. And those process is based on the organizational knowledge that you have accumulated already. So you put, to do this, we do it this way, to do that, we do that way, and that is the foundation of the company. Then there will always be a situation that has not been incorporated into the process. The process is not designed to address those cases. And what are you going to do? There are two ways of doing. Many companies stall. Other companies that have the brilliant people, that they do understand that there are circumstances in which you have to rely on brilliant people, those are those who prosper. I worked for a company that were very good at process, but the joke was we establish very solid process, and then we hire the smart kid that can go around that. So you need both. You need the solid process, and you need the smart guys and girls that know how to get around it.
So you need rules, and you need to know when to break them.
Yeah, I know you like hockey, right? I like soccer.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Sure.
What you need to win championship?
I appreciate you saying soccer, too. Football, sure.
What you need to win championship? You need strong tactics, solid process. Everybody on the court needs to know what to do. But to win championship, you need that guy, those two guys that at a certain point decide to go them themselves. And that's what we call champions. How we call them champions, right? So. And you know why? There is also a human piece into it. People in general, and even more true for brilliant people, they don't thrive in environments that are too suffocating. So if you build a company that is so suffocating that nobody can make decision, and you hire people that have the potential, have the ability to make decisions, but you don't give it the authority, they will leave. Because who wants to be in an environment where you just flip switchers,
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you gotta at a certain point you gotta unleash your star players.
You have to unleash, right? Tell me, there may be cases, but if you look at the World Cups that I follow since I was a teen, there's always been a champion in every team that has won the champion.
Okay, final question here. AI, obviously very much in everyone's minds right now, advancing super rapidly, although I'm not particularly happy with the latest iteration of ChatGPT there. I feel like it went back. But anyway, people are wondering if someday people are already using it as personal advisors, personal assistants, even like psychiatrists or psychologists. So some wonder whether AI will eventually replace expert advisors or consultants like yourself. Do you see AI as a threat, a complement, or something else entirely?
No, but before I address your question, you know the way I think, right? I mean, I've been so many disruption cycles in my life that I'm not afraid that the AI will replace us as human, you know? I remember the days of the personal computer. I was at college where they would say, hey, we have Google, why we even have to work hard to get a degree? You go on Google, find. I mean, the fact of the matter turned out that getting higher education was even more important than before, right? Because today we have so much information that you need really education, right, to be able to screen through the thing. So I'm not worried at all that AI will replace us one day or whatever, you know. I think what many people say, that people who use AI will take the roles of people who don't use AI. With regard to your question of, am I worried that expert advice will be replaced by AI? No, because AI can only, look, how can you replace relationships, you know? I mean, part of the work that we do, that I do at Exponasia Growth Partner, is approaching prospect and talking to client, calling to prospect, approaching prospect, and try to make the two ends, you know, and try to figure out whether they are good match for one the other, whether the company can, you know, and can fit my client requirement, and whether the people in that company, they are willing to work. I mean, how AI can work in establish relationship, managing relationship, developing relationship. Not yet. I mean, so I'm not worried in my career time. And look, AI will be, in my trade, will be fantastic to develop content, you know, the Gen AI, to write documents and to make it perfect now. I mean, I can write a proposal, tailor-made proposal in 1 hour, you know, with GPT, and just, you know, tell them what I do, reiterate, and do it. In the old days, it would take me more than a day. It's going to help with analysis, with finding data. I mean, I use AI, you know. Hey, you know, I need to find these things, find me few reputable source, few reputable database when I can have access to those information. And perhaps, you know, in the short term, we'll also be able to analyze data and suggest solution. But when it comes to the human piece, when it comes to check if somebody, even personal-wise, can meet with your client, or trying to influence your client to talk to people that perhaps, you know, and say, look, you know, trust me, they are the good people for you. You should talk to them. How are you going to help?
Yeah, I mean, AI can certainly be an assistant, but it can't be a genuine partner.
Cannot be a general partner, and I think it's I don't know who said it, but that I think that is going to be it. So people who use AI will have an advantage of other people who doesn't use AI, but AI is not going to replace us as a human.
Okay, well, great. Ending on a hopeful note there, Giuseppe, we could keep this conversation going for a long time. It's been fascinating to talk to you. Just finally, just for the folks at home, where can they reach you?
Oh, you reach me on LinkedIn, find Giuseppe Di Lieto, or you reach me at www.growexponasia.com. Or I mean, those two usually I check the emails and LinkedIn every day. So at any point in time, you will get a reply within 24 hours.
All right, there you have it. Once again, the name of the report is Your Business Ready to Go Global? Lessons from Southeast Asia. We'll put the link in the description. Giuseppe, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Justin, thank you.
And all the best with the business.
Thank you.
Thank you.